excited to kick things off. And Paul's actually been kind enough to talk about, obviously, Cannibal Corpse with us, the tour life, and his other two bands as well, which I really like how unique those bands are. I mean, there's such a big shift between Cannibal, Umbilicus, and now Heaven's Gate, so excited to talk about that, definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Of course, definitely. And the first question I was going to ask was, you've obviously been with Cannibal Corpse since 1988. You know, there's a lot of history there, and I was really curious, how do you perceive the evolution of death metal genre and the band's role in shaping that over the years since you've been together?
Crazy, you know, it's been 35 years now. Amazing. Death metal is still in full swing. I think it's just bigger than it's ever been, really, you know? I mean, when you first started, you wouldn't expect to be playing it as long as we have. And you just don't know what the music's going to do in the future. You're not even thinking of that. But for it to be an underground kind of form of music, and still is, but to then to somewhat be in the mainstream now is pretty crazy, really. So I think I think it's just going to keep on evolving, and it's going to keep on getting bigger. We're still kind of in the early stages in the scheme of things when you really think about it. So it's been an amazing run, and here we are, like I said, 35 years in, and we just released our 16th CD, and on tour and doing arguably better than we ever have been. So pretty amazing, really pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was thinking about that too. I know we spoke briefly the other day about playing at Station 4 and seeing the evolution, and I've listened to you guys since I was 12, so a couple years now at least, So I've seen a lot of your evolution. I've seen you progressively play larger venues into bigger crowds, and I remember the last time you guys came here at Skyway, one of the bigger rooms, and the line was wrapped around the building, and I was never so happy to be waiting in line. I hate lines. And I was like, this is awesome. I've seen you guys really just kill it for so long. And yeah, even like I said, the shows I started going to where we had the pole in the middle of the pit and you're getting smashed to death to Fillmore now today. It's just really, really incredible to see. And I've noticed that your sound's evolved as well throughout that time. So how do you feel like your drumming style has progressed over the years? And what have been your influences along the way from the formation until now? There's got to be a lot of influence.
Yeah, a little bit.
On there.
A little bit. Yeah, I mean, I look at it, I feel like I've just gotten better over time. I mean, you start off and it's very primitive and you're young and all that. And I personally have never taken drum lessons. So the fact that, now I'm experienced, of course. The more you play, the more you do it, the more, hopefully the better you get, right? So I'm definitely the same drummer, but yet I'm a different drummer. I mean, incorporating the metronome into playing about, it's been 15 years now or something like that's helped me become a better drummer. And then you're using more of your mind maybe the older you get than that physical just kind of adrenaline that I think I had when I was starting out.
Power through, you mean?
Yeah, when you're starting out, early Cannibal Corpse, when you listen to the differences kind of from the newer Cannibal Corpse, it's all Cannibal Corpse, but it's gotten maybe a lot more cerebral over the years. So I'm not relying on the beginning stages of it just being a primal adrenaline kind of drumming. I still have that, but yes, there's a lot more thinking going on than maybe there was in the past. My drumming is my drumming, and a lot of people talk about, it's Cannibal. You can tell it's Cannibal. I really do believe that. And a lot of it has to do with my drumming, even though it has kind of like gradually evolved over years. But influence-wise, I don't know. I mean, I got my influences growing up, and everybody knows what they are, like you were saying in the beginning. And then throughout the career, I don't listen to a lot of music, a lot of drummers, or say, this guy's going to influence me or anything of that nature. So I don't really have too many in the newer sense. I guess as I started, playing, and we got, here we are throughout the years, like say 10 years ago or 15 years ago, who would I have been listening to differently than I would have been in the beginning? Not many, not hardly anybody. Nothing comes to mind. If anything, it's more like musical styles, perhaps, that I might listen to something a little bit differently than I did back in the early days. Whether that's influencing my drumming, that's to be questioned, but definitely different styles of music that I like. And like I said, whether that it shows in Cannibal, probably not, because a band that I love, say for instance, like Greta Van Fleet, well, is that really influencing my drumming?
Understood.
Or or anything in Cannibal. But it's it's a weird one to think about. But I think my influences have just been my influences when I started out.
That's amazing. And speaking of different styles of music, I was going to bring up, obviously, our other two projects here. I hate saying side projects, but obviously they're a little bit more unknown than Cannibals. So let's dive into that a little bit. Can you explain to me, the differences you have between Umbilicus and Heaven's Gate? And my biggest interest with those two is even those bands are a lot different. So I feel like you're really pulling from three different sort of musical groups there. What inspires you to even do three groups that heavily, that are so different? And where are you going to progress with those other bands?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I know I've been. Thank you. I've been just a fan of rock and roll. I bring up Greta Van Fleet. I've been a fan of rock and roll most of my life, and that's where Umbilicus came into play. I wanted to express myself in that way, in the rock and roll sense, which obviously I don't really have I can't do in Cannibal Corpse. Exactly, that outlet.
Yep.
So it's fun. I love it. It really is truly in my heart and my passion to want to play that kind of music, probably more so than anything. And so it's good to do it. We're still doing it. We obviously made a record, Path of a Thousand Suns, Umbilicus. We released it, I guess, about a year ago. We haven't done much. We've done a couple of shows in Florida, but we're working on doing more and working on some new material. And we're just going to take that as long as we can go and see what happens. I mean, of course, you hate to call them side projects, but they really are.
Right.
Cannibal is
that
my
term's kind of.
I know, but Cannibal being my main gig, things have to work around that, and Umbilicus or anybody for that matter has a side band and any of their main bands, like Taylor Nordberg's the guitar player in Umbilicus, and he's in Dia's side. So we're having to work around our schedules, but we're having fun doing it. And I mean, if at all, at least we put a record out and we can have our mark on the world forever. But we want to do more. We want to do more. So we're just going to take it in stride. We're working on some new material. Hopefully we get play some more shows coming up. Same thing with Heaven's Gate. I mean, that kind of was crazy how that came about because
Really
Umbilicus.
cool. Kind of,
I know.
You mentioned it with Tony and everything, and I thought that was so neat.
Right. And Umbilicus was already happening, and I get a call from Tony a couple of years ago going, hey, I want to start a project. He lives back in St. Petersburg, Florida. That's where he was originally from, Florida, and then being in Richmond, Virginia for years with Municipal, he moved back to Florida, and he wanted to start another project, and he gives me a call, and I'm like, why not, I wouldn't
say no to that.
Well,
it's a killer sound.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I really like it.
I felt the same way. I felt like, I'm not getting any younger. The cliches, you only live once.
True, though.
Why not do something of that nature as well? Because it reminds me a lot of early Cannibal.
I really like it.
The basics. Right, exactly. Yep. So, and we're a great group of guys, and we're having fun doing that as well. And we obviously same thing with the Umbilicus. We got to work around schedules and all this. But we've been doing quite a bit. We played a bunch of shows in Florida. We made the EP. We're working on some new material as well. Hopefully record again. Got some shows happening. Played a little mini 3-show tour in Texas in July. So that was fun. Very fun. It was very fun to play out of the state. So both projects are amazing and a lot of fun, and I'm glad I'm a part of them. And we'll just take them as it comes and take it as it goes and see what happens with both of those. But either way, we're having a great time doing it.
That's awesome. And obviously fans have to dig a little bit deeper to find those acts compared to Cannibal Corpse. So where should they look to find you and find those other projects? Where is a good place to start?
Both of them I know are on Bandcamp, so I'm not sure the exact. I think it's Umbilicus Band. What is it? UmbilicusBand.bandcamp.com or whatever it is. But
you can search into it at that point.
Yes, if you put in Umbilicus Band, I think you find it. Path of a Thousand Suns. You probably. I know we're on both bands are on all digital platforms as well, like Spotify and Amazon Music and Apple Music. But Heaven's Gate, the same thing. The tricky thing with Heaven's Gate is there was an old band from Germany.
Oh, you mentioned that.
That were out in the 90s or something, and they were fairly popular. So if you punch in Heaven's Gate, that may come up.
It does come up.
Yeah,
It does.
So look for Heaven's Gate. I think it was a self-titled EP, but yeah, if you put in maybe my name or Tony's name, that you'd be able to find us pretty easily, I think. But go check it out.
Yeah, I'm excited. Those, like I said, I loved how different they all were, and then you throw in Cannibal too, and it's a really cool mismatch, and I think it probably gives you more motivation as well to have such different styles. I could be wrong, but I thought that might be a driving force there going.
It really is.
Yeah,
I mean,
really
when you can get into the monotony of playing like the same stuff over and over. And I love playing in Cannibal, of course, is what my dream was and what I do. But now that I've incorporated these other two bands, it really does break up the whole monotony of everything. And you're inspired in different ways. Then when it makes you even appreciate, I think, what we do in Cannibal, what I do in Cannibal even more so. So I'm having a great time with all three, of course, and I'm glad I'm doing it. Yes, it's helping me in many different ways, for sure.
Definitely, and then we'll wrap it up here because I know you have to actually go in and do sound check and things, but I just got a couple more questions here. This one is pretty obvious that you're touring all over with Cannibal Corpse here for many, many years, over 30 years now. So what are some of the favorite experiences that you've had? Maybe a certain country, cuisine, people. Where do you like to be the most when you have the choice or when you're there? Where do you like to go?
That's a tough question because we've been everywhere.
Exactly.
We've been very fortunate to have traveled the whole world with Cannibal and seen places we've never thought we'd ever see. So, just being in Europe or going to Japan or, going to South America, seeing a lot of the amazing landmarks and things that are out there in the world that have nothing to do with music. Going to Mexico City and seeing the Sun and Moon pyramids and going to Greece and going up to the Parthenon.
So just really crazy.
Being in Rome and there you are at the Vatican in front of the Colosseum.
Right.
Just amazing experiences that you never would have had with the band. So great people along the way. I mean, there's really so much that the band has brought to us in those ways. Yes, great countries, great people, great food all over the world, right? Great, man, I love, think of Europe and like a country like Holland. Just a beautiful place. It's just a beautiful place, right? So every time you're there, it's awesome. So so many great places. It's Australia, another great one. Just being over there, seeing the wildlife. I remember seeing a kangaroo in the wild for the first time. I mean, that's amazing.
And you go play death metal after, like it's a normal day in the wilderness.
It really is. But stuff like that just, you're very appreciative of being able to experience, and it's all because of the bands.
Definitely. And I do feel like, speaking of fans, I feel like over the years too, your fans have stayed loyal through and through. There was never an album that threw people off with a lot of other bands that I'm a fan of, and I would get over those albums, but you guys were steadfast. You were always just hitting every album. So I feel like your fans are definitely a lot different than a lot in our little kind of market here. I feel like they've definitely been loyal the whole time, and there's never been any wavering with that. So that's really cool to see.
Oh, thank you. It really is. We got the best fans in the world. I mean, I think Cannibal fans, of course, they know what to expect. We put out a record. They know it's going to be Cannibal Corpse. We're not going to throw in any, curveballs or anything. Of course, there's going to be maybe some subtle differences. Excuse me. But at the same time, it's death metal. It's Cannibal Corpse. So our fans know that, and we have we do have the best fans in the world.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing to have. Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, totally.
And then speaking of albums here and keeping things consistent, I was listening to Chaos Horrific on the way over here. It is just so brutal, so heavy. I'm in love, obviously. But I'm really curious. I mean, you're 16 albums in with Cannibal, over 30 years. What is next? Are you going to continue making new music, continue on this path of, selling out shows, obviously, but what is next? How do you, level up for here? Is that even the intention? Where do you want to go with things?
Well, I mean, at this point in our career, being, like I said earlier, being around 35 years, and, no one would have expected this. So you're just taking it day by day at this point. I mean, we're all feeling good, and we're all healthy, and we're all feeling like we're on top of our game. There's no end in sight. And really, there isn't at this point. So you never know, though. We're all getting older, and that's why I said you kind of got to take it day by day at this point. But our plan is just to kind of keep doing what we've been doing. We just put out Chaos Horrific, and I appreciate the kind words on that. Well, here we are on the road again, and you know what? If everything goes like normal, what are we going to do? We'll finish touring for this record. We'll write some new material and record again. I mean, there's no reason not to. This is what we do for a living. This is what we want to do. This is our dream come true, right? So we'll just take it day by day, though. There's no denying we're closer to the end than we are to the beginning. Of course, that's just natural.
After a couple decades.
Yeah, I mean, are we gonna? Am I gonna be able to be up there doing this at 70 years old? We'll find out.
Stranger things have happened.
You're right.
So
we will see.
if I'm in the mosh pit, you can still be drowning. We'll both have broken hips, but
yeah, true. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, we take it day by day. But at this point, there's no end in sight. So that's good.
Well, on that note, that sounds like a great way to end the interview here. There's no end in sight. And again, thank you to Paul for coming and joining me today. Check us out on Midwest Metal Promotions. I'll be obviously sharing this there, and I'll link his other projects as well, so you guys can check them out a little bit more easily. So awesome. We'll see you guys here in the pit pretty soon. The show's starting soon.
Yes, thank you so much, man. Thank you. Bye-bye.